financial markets, cryptocurrency, gold and silver, world news.
Fair to say you simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally, and we do that by buying treasury bills. That actually increases the money supply.
Financial turmoil explained.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this Monday, the 27th of June, 2022. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. I found an article in Reuters, thanks to one of my viewers out there who put in a comment section. He led me into this story, and so I did a little bit of research into it and wanted to find out about it. Uganda is said to have found a big deposit of gold, and I found this in Reuters. So, Reuters is fairly reputable as a news source. It says Commodity News, June 8th, 2022. That's when the story's dated. It says by Reuters staff is the story is connected to. It says Uganda on Wednesday said that recent exploration surveys have shown it has gold ore deposits of about 31 million tons. And it wants to attract big investors to develop the sector, hereto dominated by small wildcat miners. Over the last 2 years, aerial exploration was done across the country, followed by geophysical and geochemical surveys and analysis. Solomon Miuta, spokesman for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Developments, told Reuters. Miuta said that an estimated 320,158 tons of refined gold could be extracted from 31 million tons of ore. Many of the deposits were discovered in Karamoja, a parched, sprawling area in the country's northeastern corner of the border with Kenya. Large reserves were also found in the eastern, central, and western areas of the East African country. Miuta said Wagaga, a Chinese company, there you go, I'm telling you, some of these Chinese names are very hard to pronounce, had started up a mine in Busia in eastern Uganda, and was expected to start production this year. They have invested $200 million, he said, in its mine and will have a refining unit. President Yoweri Museveni's government has been seeking to ramp up investment in mining to develop resources like copper, iron ore, and gold and cobalt and phosphates. Parliament early this year enacted new mining law that, once signed by the president, will pave the way for creation of a state mining company. The company will be compulsory to acquire 15% stake in every mining operation. Investors will be required to sign a production sharing agreement with the government. Previous investors were given mining production licenses on a first-come, first-served basis. So I wanted to check into this a little bit, and I found another article. This article is from the Gold Reporter. It says, and this article came out on Monday, June 27th, 2022. Gold from Uganda, a giant duck, question mark. It says, supposedly, a huge gold deposit has been discovered in Uganda, which is said to dwarf all previously mined amounts of precious metal. Gold found in Uganda. Last week, Reuters news service reported that a huge gold deposit had been discovered in Uganda. There was talk of 31 million tons of gold ore, which is no less than 158 tons. of fine gold were to be extracted from Solomon Muyuta, spokesman for the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development of Uganda, was quoted as saying. Numerous German media took over the message. Gold market reality. But anyone who deals extensively or intensively with the gold market and mining issues suspected that something cannot be right about the story. First of all, the amount of gold mentioned would exceed the estimated volume of all gold ever mined in human history. The World Gold Council currently puts that at 187,000 tons. And what we're talking about here is 320,000 tons. So it would exceed by much all of the gold mined in history. It says, in addition, the circulated fine gold content of the ore sounds utopian. According to Mr. Muta, it would be 1% or 10 kilograms per ton. Nowadays, ore with a gold content of more than 1.5 grams in open cast mining and from around 8 to 10 grams in underground mines is classified as high mineralization. A content of 31.1 grams, 1 ounce per ton, is referred to as a bonanza. In 2015, a 44-point gold vein at the Fire Creek mine in Nevada caused miners to murmur. It says doubts about the information. What is also unusual is the fact that the reported gold find, apparently so suddenly, is said to extend to practically the entire country. A single well with such gold content could have caused a stir. So, what is left? Are you confused with the ounces? Did you make a mistake with the gold content? Question mark, question mark. A request from the gold reporter to the ministry spokesman has so far gone unanswered. There is no information on this potential millennial event on the websites of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, and the government's social media accounts aren't really reflecting the news either. It says, so what now? After a week of latency, there should be actually a research result from the major media. No additional information is available as yet on the gold that was discovered and the standards used to prove the alleged resources. Ultimately, the price of gold did not react to this news either, because such a gigantic because such a gigantic, really proven find would not leave the gold industry and gold prices untouched. So they're asking a lot of questions about this right now. This news release from Reuters about Uganda. Yeah, my take on it's the same thing. If this was a verified find in Uganda right now of such a massive proportion of gold, we're talking about probably twice the amount of gold that exists in the entire world already. You triple the supply of gold, out there, and you're going to have a direct correlationship to price. Something just ain't quite right about this. I'll tell you, one of the things that I think isn't quite right about it is gold investors out there. I mean, they would have to be aware of this story. I mean, I wasn't aware of this story until this morning, because it's like an offside story. It's like not really something that you're going to find easily. Now, like I said, my viewers put me on to this story. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found it. It's like finding a needle in a haystack out there, this story, compared to all the other stories in the media right now, in the news media. But that being said, can't completely disprove the Ugandan statement here about what they found. I would think that it would be gold companies, gold investors out there, I would think that they would be aware of what's going on, and I'd think that the story would be bigger if there's a lot of truth behind it. But maybe I'm wrong about that. It's just a little bit hard to put your finger on it. I mean, basically what I'm saying is a lot of times with commodities, and I shouldn't say a lot of times, but it does happen, that there can be people out there who will try to sway the price of a commodity that they want to buy by people do things like that, you know. But I'm not saying that that's what this is. Just have to take a wait and see attitude on this. But you know, with any commodity that's a natural resource, like say silver, for instance, or gold, for instance, you always take the risk that there could be a huge, major new discovery on the earth. You know, same thing with silver. Same thing with things like all the precious metals, all anything that's a natural resource. There could come a lump of that resource could come along out of nowhere. You know, now that's never going to happen with things like cryptocurrency because there's set amounts controlled by computer. But with things that are a natural resource that you can actually mine out of the ground or whatever, you could find a new deposit someplace. My take on all this is I think there is something wrong with it. Maybe there is gold in Uganda, but maybe it's a massive overestimation. It could be. I'm just saying it could be. I'm not saying that's what this is, but I'm saying my feeling, my gut feeling on this is that it might be that the Uganda government might want to attract in mining operations. And if they say, oh, there's only a small amount here, the mining operations wouldn't be interested. It would make mining operations much more interested if they said, hey, you know, there's endless amounts, you know, give us a number. And I mean, things like that do happen, but I'm not saying that's what this is. This could be all straight on the level. It's one of those things where you have to wait and see. Again, I know you guys don't like to wait and see. But also my take on it is that there is gold there, or there wouldn't be any announcement at all. There's gold there, but it's just a big question mark of how much. And see, this estimate of 320,000 tons of gold, I mean, this is absolutely an absurdly huge estimate. But you got to understand, it says it is estimated. Estimated. Whenever you have an estimation, you always have human error involved in any estimation. Human error could be something as simple as them actually getting the numbers wrong in their head and quoting one more zero than there actually is, or something like that. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what this is. I'm just saying that that's what human error can do. So, like I say, it's going to be one of those wait and see sort of things about this Ugandan gold. We'll have to wait and see if it pans out. Well, let's take a look at the silver price today while we're in here. 21.33. So silver's up today 19 cents. I'll tell you what, if it did come to be passed that this was true, there's a huge deposit of gold, you know, there, it would really negatively affect the price of gold. In fact, a deposit that big, it would bring gold down to silver's price on par with silver. You know, something that should be closer to reality anyway. Silver actually should be 9-to-1. The ratio silver should be about much higher price than it actually is. Silver is a fantastic, and they're going to need an awful lot of silver to make all those solar panels that they're going to need, and these energy problems right now that they're having. You know, they're going to need solar panels everywhere. Everybody's going to want solar panels. Talk about ramp up production. you know, and every solar panel's got silver in it. Let's take a look at the gold price today. See how many multiples, you see how many multiples of silver price it is. 18.29 today. It's up $3.50. So if this Uganda discovery, the one of the biggest things that puts a question mark for me about it is I don't see any real effect upon the gold price whatsoever. So it's 18.29 for gold. Let's take a look at cryptos today. Crypto's 952 billion, so it's back up above 20,000 again. 21,218. Got to be really careful if you're waiting to buy Bitcoin on the cheap. If I say you guys are out there waiting to buy Bitcoin on the cheap, you got to be really careful right now, because the Fed, they've already partially pivoted a little bit. You know, they've had their finger in to the uh, to the bond market. You know, they've touched it somehow. You know, and they're already. I think that they're going to pivot before long. You know, and they're gonna change direction, and so you got to be careful, because the cryptocurrency price could explode back up to the upside once the Fed really does pivot, and this chance to buy crypto on the cheap will be gone then, maybe gone forever. You know, and but how low could it go during this period in time when we're waiting for the Fed to pivot? Um, it could go significantly lower. And this could create a tremendous buying opportunity, because this is one of the things of the future. This is a technology of the future. And it has tremendous, absolutely unbelievable potential. And for you guys out there who think that this is just some sort of a flash in the pan sort of Ponzi scheme or whatever, it's not. Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. I'm sorry, but when it first came out, you know, that's my first reaction. And you know, I could have had them cheap, but I thought it was a Ponzi scheme. Honest to God, I thought it was a Ponzi scheme. My first reaction, my mother told me about them, you know, and she said, there's this new thing out there called Bitcoin. She said, I forget what the price on them was. I think it was like $2 or $3 a piece or something. I could have had them, you know, for they were only like $2, you know, but I dismissed it. I said, that sounds like a Ponzi scheme. You know, and later, it was about a year later or 2 years later or something, or 3 years, I can't remember, quite a little while later, when the price was significantly higher, I did a little bit of research into it again. I came across it again and did some research into it. I said, this is not a Ponzi scheme. This is weird, though. You know, anyway, that's what happened. Let's take a look now at the Dow Jones. And she's up 46 points on the day. Now, these are all connected to a Ponzi scheme, a real Ponzi scheme. The real Ponzi scheme is the fiat currencies, each one by their own respective central bank. They're all Ponzi schemes. That's what they are. Those are real Ponzi schemes. Honest to God, Ponzi schemes. And they're all headed for destruction at the same time. And I come across an article by Robert Kiyosaki. Oh my gosh! I mean, I should go over that article. I think I should do a show on it. You know, he's talking about a prediction by Robert Kiyosaki. It was absolutely astounding about what the United States is in for. Frightening. Anyway, in the very near future too. Anyway, let's take a look now at the oil market today. $108. It's up $1.08 on the day. Look at this drop in price of oil. It was down negative $40. Can you believe that? But anyway, ever since then, it's been going up, 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 up. You know, and right now, it's just kind of topped a little bit, like in the past month or two or so, you know, and it's been kind of zigzagging along, staying up well over $100 a barrel. And of course, you guys understand that. It's reflected at the price at the pump. Let's take a move index look. So, I mean, you guys are all becoming oil experts now out there. Everybody is becoming oil experts because of what you're having to pay. You go to the pump and every time they just ripping you off. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Can you imagine an ordinary standard car that has like a 15-gallon tank on it, and you're paying the like $100 to fill it almost? You know, I mean, come on. And this same time last year, it only cost you like $30. They get it out of the ground for nothing. It's always been that way. Did you know that? They just basically, when they first started what they call drilling, which is basically just driving a pipe into the ground, you know. I mean, that is the simple explanation for what they call drilling is some people actually bang the pipe into the ground with a sledgehammer, you know, but theirs is a little bit more, what do you call it, than that. Their technique is to get a little bit better. They use machines to drive it into the ground, you know, just basically driving a pipe into the ground. I mean, how simple is that? And then they suck the oil up. Now, they've made it a little bit more complex than that, but in the early days, it was as simple as that, you know, because the oil was under pressure. They call it a gusher. But still, it's not real complicated. Not that complicated. And even the refiners are basically just big tanks where they put it inside the tanks and refine the petroleum products out of it. It's not all that complicated. They get the stuff for free, and they do a little bit of refining, yeah, and then they put it in trucks and haul it out there, and then you got to pay for it. And it's becoming like liquid gold. Talk about money. Talk about money. They got you over a barrel. All these internal combustion engines and stuff. But you know, some people are beating the racket now. You know what they're doing? Some people are making little cars for themselves. They have to make them for themselves. There's no manufacturers out there. But they're making little cars for themselves. I saw them online, you know, make a little car for themselves. They have to make it for themselves, and of course, because they're not a manufacturer, it's generally, sometimes they make them pretty nice, you know, but I mean, a person making a car for themselves, I mean, if they got welding skills and they got a little bit of mechanical ingenuity and stuff, so the cars all look different, the ones that they're making, but the idea is generally the same. It's a grid of solar panels to make the roof of the car up above you. It's like a roof over your head, you know, but it's solar panels. Okay? Runs off a little electric motor, little chain drive, and I mean, we're only talking about maybe 5 horsepower here or something, you know. Motors that are only like 1,000 watt or 1,500 watt motors, or maybe even smaller. And the cars are only capable of like 30, 40 miles an hour for speed, you know. And they're only light. I mean, a guy could grab the rear end of the car and pick the rear wheels right up off the ground, because the whole car only weighs about 400 or 500 pounds, you know. But the novel thing about them is they can pretty much drive perpetually with no petrol or anything. The solar grid on the roof provides enough energy almost constantly to run the engine. No fuel tanks or nothing. And they can go 20 or 30, 40 miles an hour even, powered on nothing but the sun. And, you know, these little cars, the sun can come out, and if it's really bright and intense, they can be going along 30 miles an hour all day long, and they got no fuel no other source of fuel. A perpetual car. Like, people are having to build them for themselves. There's no manufacturers out there. I mean, what a great new industry for manufacturers to hop into. And your Tesla. See, I'm going to call them Flintstone cars. Okay, your common ordinary cars we've been using. You pick up the wheel. The wheel weighs like 100 pounds. I mean, it's heavy. Big, heavy tire on each great big thick steel rims, and great big heavy rubber tire and everything. What happened to the days when we had wheels that only weighed a tenth that much? The old spoke wheels we used to use on the older cars and stuff, and they could support a lot of weight. Well, the new wheels can support even more weight, but they're like Flintstone. They're like big, heavy, thick, humongous. They're humongous size wheels. It's way overkill from what we actually need. Here you got like a 90-year-old granny, only weighs, soaking wet, she only weighs like 80 pounds, sitting behind the wheel of this enormous Flintstone machine, this SUV or whatever, that weighs like 6 tons of steel going down the road. And isn't there a more energy efficient way to get her from point A to point B? A little solar car, But the laws haven't been enacted yet to even allow them on the road. Should be. See, this is places we should be moving. This is places we should be lowering the bureaucracy down and saying, okay, we're going to let solar cars, these lightweight ones, not these big heavy things that Tesla's making, because these are more Flintstone cars, they're the same. Basically all they've done is change the drive system and taken the internal combustion engine out and replaced it with an electric motor, as Tesla did. That's the big innovation, I'm not making light of Tesla or anything. I mean, he's a real innovator, but in this case, the electric car is not brain surgery. It's just that he's name branded it and everything, made it kind of like a luxury sort of a thing where, but it's still a big Flintstone. It's a Flintstone. I think myself it'd be a big boon to Tesla if they would start to build these lightweight perpetual motion that would have wheels that would more resemble a bicycle rather than a than one of these Flintstone cars we have now. It would be a lot simpler, not so complex, not all the circuitry. And these Flintstone cars we have now are loaded with computers, and they're loaded with all these different sensors, and they have all these different airbags and side door impact beams and heated seats, and it goes on and on and on. That all adds to the weight. I'm talking about a simple car. Something that is like you can fix it with just a screwdriver. That's all you need for tools to fix it. And if you want to change the tire and you don't have a jack, you just say to your buddy, "Here, hold that tire up for me while I repair the car or put a new wheel on or whatever." Put a bicycle tire on it, yeah, maybe it can't carry as much weight as the Flintstone cars, which can carry like 1,500 pounds or whatever. Maybe this will only carry 500 pounds, Maybe it'll only carry a third the weight, but you don't need all that around you to get you from point A to point B in a simple fashion. And this is where we need to move into for a world that's environmentally friendly and doesn't consume everything out there. Is we need to move into the cars that are more cost effective and easier to fix, and so that we don't have to be reliant upon China for aftermarket parts, that we can fix it with our own two hands. We can just, the chain breaks, we just go and buy a chain link is all we need. It's very simple, just chain driven from a little tiny electric motor that may be 1,000 watts or something, because the car's light. And get there slower. Yeah, we don't need all this speed anymore either. I mean, the roads are getting too bad for it. We've got a general decay of the entire system wide of the highway system. And they say, oh, we're going to put it in an infrastructure bill and repair the highways. I'll be waiting for it forever. I'll be old and crippled by the time or whatever by the time they even think about filling the potholes. Besides putting new roads in, the roads are so expansive, there's so many of them, and they're in such a state of decay that what we're going to have is pothole city every time you go someplace. So Flintstone cars, you're going to need new wheel bearings, you're going to need new tie rod ends every time you take a trip to the supermarket. And then you're going to have to get those parts from China? You know, all your steering will be busted by the time you get home in a Flintstone car. Now, these little lightweight cars, they have very simple rack and pinion steering. You know, that's all they need is a very simple suspension because they're not real heavy. They can take those potholes and take the beating, and then when it finally does wear, it's easy to fix, easy to repair. You don't need to have some sort of expert technician that works for the dealership to repair it. Anyway, I've had a little rant about this. But it needs to be said because we need cars. Car is integral to our society. Automobile is integral to our society. And we need cars that don't put out like 30 feet of poisonous exhaust every 30 seconds. 30 cubic feet of poisonous exhaust every 20 seconds. We don't need a Flintstone car that weighs 5,000 pounds to haul a person that only weighs 100 pounds. And we don't need to go 70 or 80 miles an hour. You know, we can get there. You'd be surprised how quick you get there at 30 miles an hour. And need to open up the laws so that these new, slower, easier to repair, lighter weight, environmentally friendly cars can get on the road. That are basically free. You're sitting in the car and you're driving perpetually on this power from the sun. And if it rains, that little roof over top stops you from getting wet. You know? The problem is the way we got it set up right now, the whole system, is a Flintstone car will run you into the ditch. Some guy driving along one of his 5,000-pound Flintstone cars be ha 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 as he pushes you off into the ditch because you only weigh your total weight of your car is like 500 pounds, less than 500 pounds, and he weighs like 10 times as much as you do. He's like a big elephant coming down the road in his big Flintstone car. You know, yeah, but every time he passes the gas station, he's got to stop and fill. Because some of these cars are ridiculously on gas, like these Humvees that they drive. Oh my God, they go through so much gas it just make you sick. Move index 127. Bonds and rates today. We're looking at climbing yields. Looks like it's up 3 basis points. 10-year at 3.15 and the U.S. 30-year at 3.28. And now we finish off with the dollar index at 103.98. Going along sideways today. It's come down from 104. So, thank you guys for listening to the show. Don't forget, in July, coming up next month, it's only 5 or 6 days away. We're going to start sending in our pet pictures, you know. This will be fun, you know. And, send it. If you got pictures of your pet, you know, and it's not going to matter to me. It doesn't matter what your pet is, what kind of pet you have. Some people have boa constrictors, you know. Some people have tortoises. They have turtles as pets. Some people have. A lot of people have dogs and cats. Love the dogs and cats, especially the cuter ones, you know. And sometimes a dog, you think, oh, my dog's ugly. He'd never be. Sometimes the ugly dogs are actually the cutest dogs. The ugliest cats are the cutest cats. Because they got personality. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.